welcome to the Monday evening.
Love ball like I do. After Dark, it's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
All right, welcome into the Field of 68 After Dark. And no, I don't have Rob Dostler with me right now. I have a much better co-host, my old co-host, in fact, from Sirius, Bruce Pearl. We're here in Atlanta. And Bruce is celebrating, well, I think celebrating a hell of a second half. You know, you're up 1 at halftime, didn't play well in the first 20, but the last probably 10 or so, Denver Jones makes 3 huge shots, and then Todd Pettiford with Janai and Chad Baker-Mazar on the bench with foul trouble, I mean, hits the daggers. What's it like watching those guys? Again, the two guys that everybody talks about Janai, but you're way more than Janai.
Yeah, we showed that. We obviously showed that tonight. First of all, Michigan's good. I mean, Michigan won the Big Ten tournament. They were playing great down the stretch. Their defense has really, really picked up. They started to find a little bit of their identity. Number 4 showed up tonight. Janai on both ends of the floor, played really, really hard. He was confident, and that was important for us. Dylan Cardwell's defense on the big kid Golden was amazing. He was physical, and he made his catches difficult. Denver Jones made shots. But you know what? His ball pressure all game long, you know, on Trey Donaldson and on their point guards, you know, was really disruptive. And Tahad's got nuts. I mean, we talked about, they call him a little shit, you know. They call Tahad the little shit. That's what they call him. And the little shit stepped up again.
The little shit is fearless, isn't he? I mean, again, they joke with him all the time and you joke with him that he forgets every play.
Yeah.
He didn't forget these plays, but, man, he made him look like, you know, he's fumbling with the ball, shot clock's running down in both, and he makes 2 shots that, again, I've said this all year about him. He's the X factor for you. I said it from the first time I saw you early this season against Duke. He is the X factor.
Yeah, he is. And you know, the fact that he can make those shots and he's you know, he's fearless once he gets on the floor. But you know what? He's still just a freshman. Yeah. So he's still, you know, he still gets a little anxiety. He still gets a little nervous, and there's a lot on him right now. My goodness gracious, a freshman is leading the number 1 overall seed against Michigan State on Sunday. It's a lot of pressure. But you know, he doesn't worry about it. He feels like he obviously is prepared. His teammates have got confidence in it. But look, bottom line is, we held this team to 65 points, 34% shooting. Michigan is a juggernaut on the offensive end. And so, my goodness gracious, I don't know about the game Sunday against Michigan State. It could be 1st to 50. I mean, that's going to be – because, like, if we turn the ball over 15 times against Michigan, we could turn it over 25 times against Michigan State.
That first half, it was actually entertaining as hell.
Because it was up and down.
Up and down. It was ugly, but, man, it was entertaining.
Both teams wanted to go fast because both teams had respect for the drop-back defense. You're going to play against 2 7-footers, right? Yeah. You better get the ball down the floor before those guys get set because, you know, the closer they get to the basket, the better they look. So we wanted to play fast. We just need to take better care of the ball.
All right, so here we are, Sunday, Elite 8, just where you wanted to be, where you've thought about being since probably maybe you beat Houston earlier this year. You're probably thinking about Final Four.
I don't think so. Not yet. No. We had to we beat Houston, but, you know, and then we went to Maui. We won Maui. And, but then I think when we came back in December, beat a really good Purdue team and controlled that game in that particular game, all right, then we started to think, wow, this team got a chance to be really special. And, Jim, I'm proud of the SEC. I don't care what happens.
You may have 4. Think about it. All 4 of you are alive, and all 4 could get, if you all win, it could be an all SEC Final Four. How ridiculous is it to say that?
It's ridiculous, but even if we don't, okay, we validated what we did for sure all year long. And you know what? The 4 teams that are alive were all the top 4 seeds in the SEC. Right. Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, and Florida were the 4 best teams in our league, and we all have moved on.
What's the key here against Michigan State? I know you just finished this game.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I got to.
I mean, they rebound, they go, and they go.
They're one of the best defensive teams. We're going to have to do a good job of keeping them out of the paint because they drive it on you, and make tough twos. And they've got some really, and then they're coached by a Hall of Fame coach in Tom Izzo. So it'll be a great challenge. I'm not working on them tonight. What time is it? 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's friggin' late.
I'll go back to the hotel, have one, and then call it a night.
One of what?
I'm have one.
Of what?
Have a beverage. I'm a one
beverage. What are you going to have tonight?
Could be a little Woodford, maybe a couple cubes, and that's,
you deserve it. You deserve it
because I'll do my work in the morning. I'll get up at sunrise. My guys are going to have a great scout prepared, but Did
you get up into them at halftime today?
No, not at all. Like we were in great shape. Turned over 10 times and up one. Yeah. We were in great shape. I just wanted them to look. These guys want to win. Okay, we talked. They're competitive, and they want to win. So why am I going to, get on them? Put more pressure. Hey, man, we're in a great spot. Got to take better care of the ball. We're going to work harder offensively to get to our spots. We can't be disrupted by them extending defensively. We did. A couple guys made some shots. We played great defense. The crowd was amazing. And the overall number one serves that in the sense that we got a chance to play close to home. And Michigan was the 5 seed. We were the 1 seed. 1 seed gets to play close to home.
All right. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it. We'll see you Sunday. All right.
Guys.
All right. There you have it. Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl. Now we'll get back to my lesser co-host.
Can I take my hosting duties back now, Jeff? I'm going to take my hosting
you can have him back. Yes, you can. You can absolutely have him back. But
welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. My name is Rob Doster. I have Jeff Goodman here with me. I have Mike LaTulip here with me. Jeff Goodman, as you can tell, is in Atlanta, even though he's not in the frame of the shot. And we're still trying to
go the wrong way.
Mike LaTulip looks like he's in a hostage situation right now, but he is actually in Indianapolis. He just watched that incredible finish between Houston and Purdue, where Houston won 62-60 on a Milos Uzan layup with 0.9 seconds left. Before we get into everything that happened tonight, guys, I want to set the stage because the Elite Eight is officially set. We have the 1 and the 2 seed in the East, Duke playing Alabama. We have the 1 and the 2 seed in the Midwest, Houston playing Tennessee. We have the 1 and the 2 seed in the South, Auburn playing Michigan State. And we have the 1 and the 3 seed out west in San Francisco, where Florida is playing Cinderella wearing cowboy boots. Texas Tech, the 3 seed out there in the West. But it gets better than that, guys. We have an all big boy Elite Eight. The top 7 teams on KenPom are currently still alive in the NCAA tournament. And the number 9 team on KenPom is currently still alive in the NCAA tournament. Poor old number 8 Gonzaga, the 8 seed Zags, is the only team in the top 9 of KenPom that is no longer in the NCAA tournament. The big boys are here. It is time. Every month should be March. Oh man, how did I mess that up? I was going so well with that intro. Mike, I'm going to go to you first here, man, because you just watched one of the most entertaining games I've seen in a while. I would argue the best point guard performance that I have seen in a long, long time from Braden Smith, and one of the most unique game-winning plays I can ever remember seeing. Let's start with this. Break down what happened on that baseline out of bounds and how Houston won this game tonight on Friday night here in the Sweet 16.
Well, first off, the environment was unbelievable.
Mike, you muted. Mike, you muted.
No. I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you now.
Okay. This was incredible. I mean, for this to be Lucas Oil Stadium and to be the environment that we had in there was absolutely outstanding. So I wanted to start there because credit Purdue fans, Houston fans, I thought showed up in a big way. Kentucky and Tennessee, but this game in general, man, I think so highly of Purdue in the way they came out. I thought this wasn't a good matchup for them. I think a lot of people thought it wasn't a good matchup for them. And they not only just said, hey, or then just sit back and say, hey, we're going to be on the defensive tonight and we're going to dodge punches. We're going to throw some. And they threw some to start. I thought they were active. They got after it. And, to get down 56-46 in this game and then step up the way they did and respond the way they did. And it all starts with not only their point guard, but I think with their coach as well. So we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it. But The last play was really interesting. I'm sitting there watching the game, and I got a guy sitting next to me, and I said, "You got to watch the inbounder," because Purdue switches off the inbounder. So the guy that is guarding the inbounder, which was Braden Smith in this situation, whenever a guy comes off and curls towards the corner on the ball side or on the weak side, they're going to go and take that, and then they're going to switch out of it. So Kelvin Sampson knew that with 2.2 seconds left and said, okay, we want to get it back to Uzan inbounding it. How are we going to do that? Let's send Cryer off to the weak side. We're going to have Braden Smith follow him. That's going to open up Tugler to slip to the basket. When he slips to the basket, that's going to get guys' attention. He catches it, flips it right back to Uzan for a layup. I mean, it was so well designed, but you have to execute it too. And that's exactly what Houston did. And that's why they're advancing. That's why they've had such a great year this year, because they execute in big moments. And what bigger moment than here in the Sweet 16 to advance to a absolute death match that is going to take place here on Sunday against Houston and Tennessee.
The over-under there is going to be like 103. It's going to be the exact opposite of what happened with Alabama and BYU the other night. Goodman, I'm going to give you a second to kind of recover over there after your conversation with Bruce. I'm going back to you for one more thing, Mike. The biggest storyline is Milos Uzan, 22 points, 6 assists, game-winning shot, right? But to me, the second biggest storyline is that Braden Smith put together one of the best performances I've seen from a point guard, and probably the best. I'm just going to say the best half in the history of college basketball from a point guard. He had 12 assists, assisted on every single one of Purdue's field goals, completely eviscerated the defense that Houston had, and brought them all the way back. Mike, I'm speechless from watching what he did. He completely carved them up. It was unbelievable.
Again, give credit to Houston, but that's the best point guard in college basketball, period. End of story. And he proved it tonight. I get it in a losing effort, but for him to have the turnover problems that he had against McNeese, I honestly didn't care about those, because if you watch that High Point game, if you watch that McNeese game, Braden Smith has brought a different type of focus and energy to this tournament. He always has a high level of competitiveness, his competitive spirit. It cranked up another notch in this tournament. And when you're there and when you're watching it live, you can feel it. The way he pulls guys along, the way he makes his teammates push through fatigue. And then just schematically, as a point guard, you're sitting there and saying, okay, if you want to put 2 on the ball, and he struggled with this throughout the year. When Michigan State would put 2 on the ball and he had 6 turnovers in East Lansing, he had 6 turnovers, I think, in Bloomington against Indiana. And he was so smart tonight, because what he did was say, you know what, when 2 get put on the ball for me, I'm not trying to get downhill with the 2 on the ball. I'm going to drag these 2 out as far as I can, east-west. And when I do that, that's going to spread this Houston defense out. And I know I got a guy on the weak side. I got, whether it's Harris, Colvin, Heidi, any of those guys to knock down shots. And he just manipulated the defense in a pretty unbelievable way tonight. But again, wasn't enough, because I just think that you have to do it for a full 40 minutes against this Houston team. We've seen that. Shots were short for Purdue to start the second half. I mean, I thought the worst thing that happened to Purdue tonight was halftime.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong, because Houston came out and they were ready to go, and they punched them right back in the mouth. And you push that lead out to 10. That coming back against Houston is the hardest thing to do. Goodman, you have been skeptical, I think, of Houston more than the rest of us, right? Like comparatively, like I think Houston's in the same tier as Duke and Florida, and you think that they're a little bit below that. Does this concern you, the way that Purdue was able to come back against them?
I mean, a little bit, because again, we've said it all year, Purdue isn't that difficult to prepare for, right? I mean, yes, Braden Smith is the best point guard in the country. Nobody's disputing that. And Fletcher Loyer was great early in this game. He got off to a great start. But ultimately, I still don't know if I trust Houston in a game in which, again, that maybe they get behind in and they've got to score. LJ Cryer wasn't great tonight. Uzan had to carry them. He did that. He's been sensational the second half of the season. I just don't think that Tennessee game's going to be great. I just think Tennessee's got more weapons, guys. They've got guys that I trust that can put points on the board. Zakai Ziegler was terrific again tonight, right? Takes care of the ball, does everything. Chaz Lanier, we know, can go off for 25. I don't have that same level of confidence in Houston's guards and wings.
Mike?
Yeah, I just from a personnel standpoint, this is part of what you have to factor in when you play against Houston, especially defensively, when they rotate the way they do, because they will put 2 on the ball. That's how they force turnovers. That's how they force havoc. And so your personnel is so important offensively. You saw Caleb First get pulled out of the game 2 minutes into the second half. We got to go Heidi. We have to. We have to sacrifice the rebounding to get offense on the floor and spread these guys out and put 4 shooters around Trakoff and Wren. We have to do it. So when I look at Tennessee, you can put Akpar out there, have him be a rim runner, but who are you surrounding him with? Is it Milicic? Is it Gainey?
Yes.
Is it Dubar? I mean, they're like, you're going to have to, and Linear, of course, and Ziegler's going to have the ball in his hands manipulating like Braden Smith did tonight. And so that's what I'm looking for in this Tennessee-Houston matchup is what
you have
is
more
that
weapons.
Like?
You have more weapons for Tennessee than Purdue does. No doubt. As long as Milicic shows up. He's the key. He's the key.
And he is the key because you saw Painter trying to search a little bit because it's like, okay, we can't – if we have Heidi in too long, Roberts is going to crush us on the glass. But if we have First in too long, we're not going to get what we want offensively. Tennessee can survive because of Milicic. Right. That's because when you have a guy like him at the 4, it's different because he can rebound and he can space.
Yes.
So that's the difference there for,
He's got to play
Tennessee.
tough, though.
He's got to play so tough. Yeah, and I thought Matt Painter was pretty masterful tonight, trying to work in and steal minutes in different places so that he didn't, overload his personnel one way or the other. I thought that kept them in the game, to be honest, in addition to, his point guard being great. But sitting there live, you see it with Houston, man. They're just kind of always right here. And that's why in those pressure moments, they're able to step up and execute. It's when you win and win as consistently as they do, it's coaching, it's the mentality they have. It's all of that baked into, what makes them a really good team.
Yep. We have a lot to get to tonight. Michigan State comes back on Ole Miss in a game where, Goodman, you were there. I don't know if Michigan State was necessarily the best team on the floor for more than about 10 minutes of that game, but they didn't have to be. Tennessee was unequivocally the best team on the floor against Kentucky in an all-SEC battle, and Auburn was down by 10 and went on an unbelievable 20-2 run to come back and beat Michigan. It was the first time in a while that this Auburn team carried the swagger that we saw them carry at the start of the season. And we're going to get into all of that and more, including what is going on with the SEC. Can they get 4 teams into the Final Four? Can we get 4 number 1 seeds into the Final Four? We will break all that down when we come back after this. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today.
People have opinions about me, strong ones. Some compare my brand to the competition and call me a copycat. Some say that I'm just watered down, that I fall flat. I've heard it all. But the people who get me, they say I'm different, subtle, but balanced. Nothing to hide, nothing artificial. And once they give me a chance, they keep coming back for more. For more dab water. That's right, I'm talking about dab water, and I swear by it. No bubbles, no fizz, just a smooth, refreshing canned cocktail made with real tequila. 100 calories, 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and gluten-free. Find Dab Water's 4 flavors in an 8-pack variety pack or single flavor 6-packs. Dab Water invites you to enjoy its great lineup of products all tournament long. Take it from me, Jeff Goodman. Sometimes the most polarizing things are the best things. Dab Water, tequila, water, natural flavors.
Welcome back to the Field of 68 After Dark. It is Friday night. It is currently 1:11 in the a.m., and I can speak for everybody currently here on this show because we are all wired. It does not get better than a late game bucket off of a baseline out of bounds play. Houston knocks off Purdue 62-60 to get to the Elite Eight. All 4 number 1 seeds are alive. 3 of the 2 seeds are alive, and Cinderella wears cowboy boots out west in San Francisco, where Texas Tech is still fighting to make sure we don't have an all 1 seed Final Four. We got to talk about what happened down in Atlanta, Goodman, and we got to start with Auburn, because there was about, I'd say, a solid 28 minutes of this game where I was really questioning whether or not this Auburn team was ever going to be able to find their rhythm again, because it feels like we've gone a month since we really saw them play with the kind of swagger and the kind of confidence and the kind of like, I hesitate to say it like this, but like the swashbuckling mentality that they would have, where they just don't care, right? They're just out there hooping. And it started with, I believe it was a Tahad Pettiford 3, and then Denver Jones hit a 3, and then they got a couple stops in a row, and then all of a sudden the buckets that went in led to defensive aggressiveness, and all of a sudden that defense led to quick buckets in transition, and then all of a sudden they were down by 9, and I was questioning everything I thought I knew about college basketball season, and boom, like this, the score is 59-50, and it was all but over at that point. What flipped for them, Jeff? What flipped for Auburn in that run in the second half that allowed them to turn this game on its head?
You know, I think they started to wear – you see, you know, with Danny Wolf, he has to do so much for this team. When you see him in person, it's everything, because, again, they don't have a point guard. They don't. I mean, Trey Donaldson, he's been great at times, but he had a couple of turnovers tonight that were unbelievable. I mean, threw the ball, 5 feet over somebody's head. Threw it out of 2 straight turnovers. They yanked him. Danny Wolf has to do so much that I thought he was worn down. And that allowed Auburn to kind of get that opening. And Denver Jones was kind of the hero of this game. I mean, he really was. He hit 3 straight baskets to take him from, I think they were up 1 to up 9 in the span of about a minute or so. And then, Michigan kind of hung around a little bit. And then it was Pettiford. Janai Broome and Chad Baker-Mazar both on the bench with 4 fouls. I'm thinking to myself, all right, they got to get through these next couple minutes, because there were about 6 minutes left in the game when both of them went to the bench. And I'm thinking, again, they got to fight this off. Who's going to do something? Well, it's Tahad Pettiford, and they make fun of him that he forgets plays all the time. He didn't forget these plays, but it looked like it. Because, he fumbled the ball on one of them, jacked a 3, hits a crazy shot. Then, again, a step back and 1 with about 4.5 minutes left. This kid's ridiculous. He is absolutely ridiculous. He's exactly what Bruce Pearl has not had, maybe his entire career. He's had some wild guards, right, that take some crazy shots. Remember Wendell Green? He was that guy for a while. This kid is a pro. He's like Lou Williams to me. You could bring him off the bench. You could start him. You do whatever.
He's Brandon Jennings.
Yeah.
That's the one,
right.
Rob.
He's a little bit
that's
bigger.
The one.
Yeah. I mean, he's wild at times, and they got to live with that. But this just shows they have so many weapons, and defensively they locked down at the end. They locked down, and Carwell came in and made a huge defensive play, coming back on a ball and blocking it, and then they came back the other way and hit a 3. It was just a team effort, and it just shows this team is capable of just kind of flipping the switch at times and going on these crazy runs. I thought it would be coming out of the break right away out of the second half. They waited a lot longer for that, and they just dominated in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, real quick, Michael, go to you in a second, but I'm just going to put it out there. And Goodman, you should probably call him on this tomorrow. There is no chance that Tahad Pettiford is actually forgetting the plays. He's just pretending that he forgot the plays so he could have the ball at the end of a clock and he can get a shot up. Okay, I see through it, Tahad. I know exactly what you're doing. I'm not going to fall for it. You're not going to fool me. I'm on to you, man. Mike, Janai Broome, 22 points, 16 boards. 9 of those boards were on the offensive end of the floor. He had a couple of steals, and he actually, to prove us wrong, had 2 huge buckets in the post down the stretch to just kind of say, hey, Mike and Rob, remember how you said I can't score in the post? Well, hold these buckets right here. So,
no one
what do you
said
make
he couldn't score in the post.
Right? Who said that?
No one said that. No one said that. No one said comparatively to other back to the basket bigs, it's a little bit lower. Nobody said, Auburn fans, look at the camera, nobody said that Janai Broome could not score in the post.
Rob might have.
What do you make of his performance?
Oh, Rob pretty much just did, I guess.
Well, no, what I said is that if you want to beat Auburn, you have to make them beat you with Janai Broome post-ups. And what Auburn fans took that as was me saying Janai Broome sucks in the post. No, it's just the most inefficient way they have to score, and it ends up being like a pretty good way for them to get offense. Anyway, we're off track. What do you make of his performance tonight? And when he is playing like this and just having that impact in the paint against a team that has 2 7-footers, I feel like that's what you need out of them, their front line, for them to be able to win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, he's the head of the snake. He is. I mean, when he's got his swag, they all got their swag. And we saw that tonight. I think, Janai is so impressive because there's just a relentlessness to him. We saw that on the offensive glass tonight, but also he continues to fight for position too. And he knows that he has a good balance too, where it's like, hey, I can either post deep here, or, if Vlad Golden wants to, I can pull him out to 17 feet. I can square him up and try to go by, put him in foul trouble. I mean, there's a lot that Janai can do, and I thought he showed a variety of that tonight. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be – they're not going to survive moving forward without Janai being good, right? Like, they need good Janai moving forward. And that I talked about it before the game, but and I guess on the pod last night, or I guess on Wednesday night when we did the show, but Janai was going to have a big game. Michigan, the last few bigs that they've played, Pharrell Payne, 26 points, Derek Queen, 31 points, Trey Kaufman-Renn, 24 and 9. Janai was going to have a big game. What it was going to come down to was the backcourt for Auburn. And Todd Pettiford, you beat me to it, Rob. I mean, sometimes you got to like wipe off your glasses and ask yourself if you're watching Brandon Jennings, because that's truly what it looks like. And I think from a mentality standpoint, I remember the Alabama game at Alabama, and you had Auburn jump out to an early lead in that game. Alabama brings it back to 65-65 in the second half. And I'm like, okay, well, what do we got? Who's going to step up here for this Auburn team? And the next possession, Todd Pettiford dribbles down the right sideline, and you could argue ill-advised, but I don't know if ill-advised really matters for Todd Pettiford. And he steps into a kind of hezzy three to make it 68-65. And I remember sitting there being like, there's dudes that are young like that. They don't know what they don't know. He just knows go. And that's so valuable in this tournament, to have guys that it's not about like, hey, I'm embracing the moment, or hey, I'm scared of the moment. The moment is whatever to him. He's hooping, and he wants to win, and he wants to, tear your heart out. And those are good guys to have on your team, because you just, in big moments like that, it doesn't really affect them. And so you saw it tonight, like that 1-2 punch in the post, and with Pettiford doing what he did in isolation, it was just, that's when Auburn to me is creeping towards their peak.
He's back.
Fanta.
Look who it is.
There he is.
Wow. What a great night of college basketball. Like that was just so riveting. That's what the tournament is about. That's what the madness is about. We knew he would get it. And now to think you have 3-1 versus 2 and 1-1 versus 3 showdown to determine who is going to go to San Antonio. Jeff, we're getting what you would want when you go to San Antonio. This is going to be, regardless of what happens on Sunday, pretty much every option. There are some that are juicier than others, but let's face it, this is going to be the clash of the Titans when we get to our Final Four. What a setup for Saturday and Sunday.
No, this is what we wanted, right? This is what you always want to get to a Final Four. You just wanted something different maybe early on in this tournament that you didn't get, which was, some of those Cinderella stories, winning those first-round games. But now you got all the best teams in the country left. You've got a lot of good storylines coming up in the Elite Eight. Obviously, one of them is the SEC, the power. Obviously, Alabama, Duke is a big one. Can Alabama play like they did last night and dethrone right now the clear favorites to win the national title, which is Cooper Flagg in the Blue Devils? To me, again, when I look at this Auburn team, I still want to see them put together a full game against Michigan State. The first half was so sloppy for both teams. Going up and down, a lot of turnovers, not running any offense. Defensively, again, it wasn't even great defense as much as it was bad offense on both sides. So I want to see if Auburn can put together two really good halves against Michigan State. If they can, I think I'm back in. But Auburn, the beauty of Auburn is they can have Chad Baker-Mazara play a poor game, which he did. But I'll say this. The best thing about Chad Baker-Mazara tonight, he didn't get frustrated. He kept his calm. There were a couple plays there where one of Michigan's players tried to tackle him and took him to the floor, and he kept his composure. I thought that was very important for this team right now. But I still think this Auburn team needs to show me something against Michigan. They can put them away like they were doing teams earlier this season.
Mm-hmm. Let's stick in Atlanta, Jeff, because you mentioned Michigan State. I don't think Michigan State necessarily played all that well against Ole Miss. It felt like Ole Miss kind of out Michigan State did Michigan State, if that makes sense. And the Spartans were able to make a little bit of a run late. They got a couple huge rebounds from Jase Richardson, who finished with 20 points and 6 rebounds. I know we got an interview with him that we can hear in a couple of minutes, but what did you make of his performance? What did you make of Tom Izzo's reliance on him? And what did you make of Tom Izzo getting choked up a little bit in the postgame?
I mean, come on. Tom Izzo gets choked up in every postgame this time of year, right? I mean, it's a rite of passage. For every game Tom Izzo wins in the tournament, he starts to tear up a little bit. It's kind of like you at the Final Four, the last game when we finish up, you start to cry. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean,
every year, man.
I know.
Every year. It's the end of,
I'm waiting
it's the end
for
of an era. Every season is the end of an era, Goodman.
Poor LaTulip has no idea what he's got himself into for the hugs and kisses and crying of Rob Dossler at the end of the season.
UConn's not going to be there, so I'm sure it's been great.
That's
the
a
last
good point.
Years.
There may not be as much hugs.
Hey, Illinois is not going to be either. But I'm just saying.
Wait a
sure
minute.
The last 2 years
it doesn't
were
matter
because
wait a minute. By the time that moment happens, LaTulip, the entire crew, Trevor Valise and Dagan Hughes are crying tears of joy that they made it through another season. It's like they won the Larry O'Brien trophy when they finished. You know the image of KG saying anything's possible? That's Dagan after the final game of the freaking season. But you know what? I don't blame Tom Izzo one bit for crying because this is such a storybook season. We thought they would be, with the exception of Terrence Oglesby, we thought they'd be 5th or 6th in the Big Ten, maybe win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. They are 40 minutes from the Final Four. And you know what? It's not pretty. And there's a lot of ugly within the game at times, but it's Michigan State basketball. And Ole Miss for the first 20 minutes was not letting them get out in space. I thought the key to the game and the momentum of the game was when Michigan State, when Jase Richardson and Jaden Akins hit 2 threes to close the first half. It gave Michigan State something to bottle up in that locker room. And Ole Miss's shot selection wasn't great late. Tom Izzo called 2 timeouts in the last 3 minutes. And Jeff, what happened? It was a Holloman to Cooper on a slip and a tough shot, Akins or Richardson there on the runner. One of them on that runner in the lane. Akins. Just like that was the difference in the game, Jeff.
You're right. At the end of the first half, it was huge. I mean, Jase Richardson was terrific in the first half, keeping him in the game. Cohen Carr hit a big 3, and then Akins hit that 3 late to give him some momentum going into halftime, where Tom Izzo must have been ecstatic that they weren't down more. And then, Padula, there was one play, I think Ole Miss was up 8. I think they're up 8 at this point, and Ole Miss comes down the court, and Petula, who had been fantastic all game, he was in foul trouble early, but when he was on the court, he was terrific. He took a three early in the shot clock, missed it. Michigan State came down the other way. They hit a shot to cut it to 6. Then it went to 4, and quickly all the momentum that Ole Miss had at that point was gone. It had completely deteriorated. Has had Ole Miss at that point. I will say this, guys. Looking at these two teams in person, Michigan State and Auburn, it legitimately looks like a major league team and a AA team. It really does. If Tom Izzo can win this game Sunday and get the Spartans to the Final Four, I'm convinced this might be, and I know saying this sounds ridiculous because he's had so many unbelievable coaching performances in his career, but if he gets this team and beats Auburn to get to the Final Four, it could be his best performance of his career at 70 years old.
I don't think that's crazy.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that's crazy. You got to think about the era that we're in now. And not only the era that we're in, let's be real, how much shit Tom Izzo has gotten for not loading up in the portal. And we know his thoughts on NIL. I know he's embraced it a little bit more, but I think this is why it feels so good for him. And I think it's why he is so emotional about it, because it reinforces probably why he got into the job to begin with, was to have an impact and have guys band together and create cohesion on your team that then leads to on-court success when everybody looks at your team and still to this day is like, well, they don't have a guy when they might have a guy that's a lottery pick, right? It's still all about the team, and those guys buy in. It's incredible watching them live because they really are. I mean, I think their moniker is Spartan Dogs, and like they have Spartan Dogs, and it's been amazing to see. And again, like I think it's vindicating might be the word for Izzo, because he's taken a lot of heat. Yeah, I mean, it's just that's my thoughts.
You've been using your word of the day, toilet paper. I see.
Nobody's right.
Yeah, it genuinely could be the best coaching performance because of the era that we're in and because of the way I think people, just kind of ruled Izzo out in a way.
Mm-hmm.
We are in an era.
Go ahead, Phantom.
We are in an era where it is very hard to do what he is doing. And that's what has to make it that much sweeter for him to be accomplishing this. Down the stretch tonight, let's face it, Ole Miss, how do they build their roster? Chris did a brilliant job with his team this year. Make no mistake about it. Now he goes into the portal. He goes in the portal. He's the modern day 2025 transfer. And they've got studs. And Sean Padula deserves a hat tip. Hell of a run in the NCAA tournament, young sir. You were fantastic. But when it matters most, Michigan State limits you offensively with a relentless DNA that comes out of them. They willed themselves to stops. The sum is greater than the parts. It is. Because when you put all these pieces together, the depth of this team, they are an exception to Jay Wright's whole thing in 2016 and 18 when he said, look, you need depth in October and November. But at this point, I've got my guys. And by the way, I got a couple NBA guys, but I got 6 guys, and this is who I'm winning with. They just figure out a way to, all right, we'll plug Frankie Fiddler in for 2 minutes. All right, it'll be Trey Holloman, who averages around 10 and 3 or 4. I don't know how he's doing it, but this has been Tom Izzo's miracle in Cana. He's taking water, he's turning it into wine. It's inexplicable, Rob, but this guy has found a way at his age. And Jeff, what did he tell you? He's not even thinking about how old he is. I think this team has actually made him want to do it more when he was starting to trend the other way, because this group of kids bought in. And you can't tell me that when the camera flashes tonight to Jase Richardson, that connectivity, that dad didn't say to Jase, son, you're going to play for him, and I'm not going to hear a thing from you.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Jase Richardson. Goodman was able to catch up with Jase after his 20-point performance tonight.
All right, Jase, obviously first half, not great, but you hung in there. You certainly helped your team hang in there. What was in the second half where the offense was clicking?
I think everybody being aggressive. I felt like first half, not a lot of guys were being aggressive, but second half, I feel like we all came out with a certain energy, trying to get to the basket, trying to make plays for ourselves and our teammates.
So last game for you didn't go great. You couldn't make a lot of shots. I think you were 1 for 10. How'd you rebound, and how much were you waiting for this game to show what you could do?
Just the trust I have in my teammates. I feel like my teammates put a lot of trust in me this game to make plays. And then when we got back from that New Mexico game, I never left the gym. Kind of just getting as many shots up as I can, trying to find my rhythm again, find my stroke. So just doing that.
So when you were in this building earlier this year and you play Kansas, I remember walking away saying, I don't know about this Michigan State team. You played well enough to hang in there, but I'm looking at you. But you weren't you. To me, I think you're as big a difference in this team, and the team's obviously gotten a lot better. But when you look at that team and how different you are now, what do you think?
It's a lot different. I mean, that was the beginning of the season. A lot of guys were trying to get into a lot of new roles. It was my first couple games playing college basketball, so I was kind of just trying to find myself. But then as the season went on, I felt like a lot of guys just got better, and including myself, I felt like I got a lot of better just over the season, and I felt like just a whole different team from that loss that we had.
What would it mean to give Tom Izzo another Final Four, his 9th of his career? You're 1 away now.
It means a lot. When you get to be a part of history like that, it means a lot. We always got reunions for the Final Four guys, so you want to be one of those people coming back saying, I did this, and I accomplished history here.
Thanks, Jess. Appreciate it, man.
College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light. Were you one of the people that thought that Wisconsin was going to beat BYU, that St. John's was going to get past Arkansas? If you lost in the first weekend of our $40,000 Survivor contest, I have good news. We are hosting a $15 to enter second chance Sweet 16 Survivor. There is more than $30,000 up top if all 2,200 spots filled. With their slick mobile app and user-friendly website, Splash Sports is the home of Survivor. So sign up and prove that once again, you know more ball than the Field of 68.
Here we go. Welcome back. Field of 68 After Dark. Rob Douster, Mike LaTulip, Jeff Goodman, Jeff from Atlanta, LaTulip from Indy, from Lucas Oil Stadium, Rob from his wonderful, humble abode, heading into the East Regional Final tomorrow night or later tonight between Duke and Alabama. Let's go to Kentucky and Tennessee. Earlier tonight from Lucas Oil Stadium, Mike LaTulip, you're on hand, and Big Blue Nation comes ready. But Tennessee came more prepared. They were the aggressor. They came out and shut down Kentucky's offense, opening blows, and a 17-7 game right out of the gates. They never looked back. Tennessee 78, Kentucky 65. Mike, your biggest takeaway from this performance by Rick Barnes' team was?
Tennessee looked the part. They looked the part tonight. They did. And this game was physical to start on both ends. But we've just seen Tennessee throughout the season be more well-equipped to play through physicality offensively. And Kentucky struggled with that tonight. I mean, Kentucky shot 40% from three tonight, and it didn't matter because they couldn't get enough up, because there just wasn't enough airspace for those guys. So it was pretty amazing to see all those guys for Tennessee and Rick Barnes, just the way I thought they manipulated the game as the game went on and attacking matchups and having a good blend of, hey, we're going to play in isolation here, but we're also going to use our floppy action with our down screens underneath the basket. We're going to, if you want to shortcut it, we're going to bump back and hit threes. And if we're going to curl it. And if you help, we're going to throw the lob. And I thought Kentucky struggled tonight with containing dribble penetration for Tennessee. I mean, Zakai Ziegler was living in the paint to start this game. And then it just, all these guys, Gainey, Lanier, all of them started to make their way into the paint. And when you can't contain the dribble, what ends up happening is now your bigs, Amari Williams, Brandon Garrison, these guys have to help uphill, meaning they have to help up towards the ball. And when they do that, now you got Akpara lobs towards the rim, or you got shots going up and guys that are uncontested for offensive rebounds. And so that was just kind of the bind that Kentucky, I thought, found themselves in all night. But just the mettle and the resolve that, like, to get up like Tennessee did early in this game and just kind of put it away, to be honest. Like, it just being there live, it didn't feel like Kentucky really had a chance to get back into this, because the looks offensively were just few and far between. And I thought they did such a good job defensively changing up coverages. Hey, we're going to switch some of these. We're going to try to deny all these dribble handoffs and zoom actions that you have. And then, or we're going to keep our matchups in this, on this particular possession. They were just, or it's maybe personnel based. We're going to switch Owe and not let him get downhill and get in space. It was a clinic tonight for Tennessee on both ends. And again, this Houston-Tennessee matchup is going to be pretty damn high level.
Yeah, I thought that it was really telling that every single time it felt like there was an opportunity for Kentucky to be able to kind of grab a little bit of momentum and string together a couple of possessions in a row and start chipping away at the lead, that Tennessee just kind of treated it like, they were putting out a match, right? They were putting out a cigarette. They just stepped on it and squashed it and squished it, and it never had the opportunity to do it. It was there was one where Chaz, they get a stop. There's a shot clock, almost a shot clock violation. Chaz Lanier throws up some 30-footer that hits the backboard first and hits the side of the rim, and it happens to be Justin Gainey right there, putting in a layup. Right. There was another one where there was an air ball, and it just so happened to fall into I think it was Akpara's hands who had a dunk afterwards. There was the breakout where it looked like Andrew Carr was going to get a wide open dunk, and Darlington Dubar, whatever his name is, Dubar, came out of nowhere and pinned it off the glass. It felt like there were 7 of those plays that every time Kentucky was starting to be able to fight their way back into the game, Tennessee just found a way to be able to squash it out. And when you run 23, 24, 25 seconds off the clock, and then you get those backbreakers, or you get the possessions where at the end of a clock, Justin Gainey is driving into the paint, and he comes to a jump stop, and he pivots, and he throws up like a fadeaway 12-footer, the worst shot in college basketball, and it happens to go in, and he hits 4 of them. Like that, those things are just absolute backbreakers. And I don't think Kentucky was ever able to quite recover from that. I also thought it was really smart what they did defensively, like blowing up all the ball screens, all the DHOs, all the zooms. They didn't let Kentucky do anything that they wanted to do. And they just kind of said, look, if you want Amari Williams to drive the rim, we're going to put Felix Akpara right there in front of it, and go ahead. We'll live with Amari Williams challenging Felix Akpara at the rim. That's what we want. Those are the shots we want.
Jeff, I want to tee up on this because I don't think it's getting discussed nationally nearly enough. And you and I talked before the tournament started about this very storyline. Not just Tom Izzo, but here's Rick Barnes, who's not getting any younger. He's at the age of 70. He has been to 1 Final Four in his career. Based on the way that Tennessee played tonight, fellas, Mike, you just said they looked the part. Houston, again, looked like that team that has issues offensively in some of these down-to-the-wire tournament games and could be susceptible to dropping one of them, could have lost tonight. Jeff, when you think about what Sunday can mean for Barnes, for Tennessee basketball, who's never been to a Final Four, how do you put that into perspective?
I mean, it would be everything for Rick Barnes. And I'm not even sure, again, for Rick Barnes, it's validation for himself. But I think for a lot of other people it is, because he hasn't gotten there in so long. It was back in 2003 at Texas. Been an eternity ago, and he's had some great teams, whether it was at Texas or at Tennessee, that a lot of people kind of question maybe they should have gotten there to the Final Four or certainly a lot further in the tournament. But I said it, guys, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. This Tennessee team, I think, goes to the Final Four. I really do. And I'm not sure they don't just go to the Final Four. I think this is a team that could win the whole damn thing. I think the pieces fit together. I love their backcourt. Chaslin, they've got 3 guards. I mean, that's the beauty right now is you've got Zakai Ziegler, who's about as seasoned as any guard, any point guard in the country, and about as good of a two-way point guard as there is in the entire country. I think Chaz Lanier, we see what he can do and how quickly he can heat up. And he's a big, 2-guard with some size that can create his own shot. And to me, Jordan Gainey's been the biggest difference maker for them because he can shoot it from deep. He can put it on the floor. Again, Milicic is to me the X factor. He's the one that can take him over the top. But Rob, I've been all in on this team for a couple weeks now. I've been trying to tell you they're going to take down Houston. They're going to take down Houston on Sunday. I don't want you to be all in because I'm afraid if you go all in, you're going to jinx this team like you have in the past.
I've got bad news, Jeff. I've got really bad news for you.
Don't do it. Don't do it, please.
I'm on the bandwagon, man. Like that was that was really, really impressive. And I thought Zakai Ziegler was really, really impressive. And the shot making was really, really and they completely obliterated a Kentucky team that is a good rebounding team on the glass, right? Like Kentucky's got big bodies. They completely obliterated them. And
Rob, how would you categorize Kentucky? How would you sum up Kentucky? What are your thoughts?
I think that this performance was a disappointing performance, and it's okay for Kentucky fans to be disappointed with the way that this game kind of played out, right? Like you get to this point in the season, everybody travels up to Indianapolis. You want to be able to at least feel like you were in the fight and feel like you had an opportunity to enjoy it. And I don't think there was ever a point in this game where Kentucky fans felt like they'd enjoyed it. But I would also make sure that all of you guys go out and watch the press conferences and the news stuff and the interviews that all of these players did that spent 1 year playing for Kentucky under Mark Pope. You saw Lamont Butler just shattered in tears, walking off the floor, hugging Mark Pope. You saw Kobe Brea. I think his quote was, "Whoever is coming to get the jerseys is not going to get this one from me, or is going to have a very hard time getting this one from me." You saw Andrew Carr talking about how he doesn't want to take this jersey off and he doesn't want to stop playing for Kentucky. And I think that it was magical.
It was a magical year for this Kentucky program, Rob. Magical.
Yes. And it wasn't just this year, though. I think the groundwork has been built for this to be something that continues to be this way. And I don't know if it means that Kentucky is going to reach the heights that they reached, like from 2011 to 2015 under Cal, right? Like I don't know if this is going to be Final Four after Final Four after Final Four.
It's not going to be.
Yeah, it's so hard to do that. But I think that there are going to be years where this team is Final Four national title good. And even in the years when they're not, there's going to be something that is just so easy to root for and so easy to like about this Kentucky program. And I think that what Pope has done is established a culture that is going to remain there and is going to be able to grow and is going to be able to build and is going to be something that lasts more than just one. Like this is not going to be we're going to build a roster year by year by year thing. I think he's going to be able to get players. He's going to be able to keep a bunch of players. There's going to be a core. There's going to be a culture. And I think this is the start of Kentucky having something that is really, really enjoyable for Kentucky fans.
Because I got a heart out of 150.
Yeah. Just quickly, really quick. Just so different because it's kind of the opposite. What did Kentucky fans get frustrated with John Calipari? That it was all about getting these guys to the next level. Mark Pope's totally the opposite. He wants these guys to embrace their time at Kentucky as much as anything else. He felt it. He loved it. He ended up playing in the NBA. And if these guys play in the NBA, that's great. But that's not what his mission is. His mission is to make sure they encompass everything that he felt when he was in Lexington.
So, Mike, they lock up Kentucky defensively. They hold them to 15 3-point attempts. Kentucky averages 25, 26 3-point attempts a game. So not only did they hold them to 6, they held them only to 15 attempts. But on the other side, Mike Latula, is this guard. And on a night where Braden Smith had 15 assists, here's Zakai Ziegler who walks in with 18 points and 10 assists, Michael. We have talked about his greatness. You got to watch it in person tonight. How would you describe it? You're muted. It was so good.
It's similar to Braden in the sense where you have to watch it in person, and it's what makes point guards, right? Not just guys who, have the counting numbers and get the points and get the assists. Real point guards, like guys who are orchestrators, guys who run a team. I saw it tonight with Zakai. I saw it tonight with Braden. Those guys just have a natural, innate ability, and Zakai definitely does, to kind of rally guys in, to get the crowd into it, to pull all the right strings in addition to everything you have to survey on the court, right? Okay, how do I manipulate this ball screen? Okay, let's push in transition. Who's in the running lanes? You got to make sure, hey, Akpar, keep your chin up, right? You didn't finish that layup, keep your chin up. Let's get back on defense. Like that's all the stuff a point guard has to manage, and he does that and some. And that's why you look at the point guard play across these different teams, and that can win out. I mean, Uzan was, kind of the de facto point guard for Houston tonight, and he was tremendous. You need guys like that. I mean, Zakai is just, and not to mention what he does on the defensive end too. I mean, he frustrated Lamont Butler, I thought, tonight. He really did. And I will say real quickly on Kentucky, I'm just such a fan of Mark Pope, and it's even seeing him live too. We've seen it all season. There's no drama. There's no antics. The dude just coaches, and all of his players play the same way. And so that's the way that you can kind of build a culture. So, I mean, they're probably so emotional after the game tonight because they went through a lot this season. You got all the expectations, you got all the injuries, guys in and out of the lineup, and you're in this pressure cooker in Lexington, and you're navigating that. You end up as a 3 seed. You get to a Sweet 16. There's a lot to be proud of if you're a Wildcat, man.
Some of us like the antics out of a coach, Mike. That's all I'm going to say.
That was not a Dan Hurley.
So quickly, I got 50 seconds before we get out of here. The 4 regional finals: Auburn versus Michigan State 1v2, Florida versus Texas Tech 1v3, Duke versus Alabama 1v2, Houston, Tennessee 1v2. Jeff, Rob, Mike. Jeff, your favorite game of the regional finals?
I mean, Duke, Alabama, easy. Duke, Alabama.
Rob.
Duke, Alabama.
Mike?
I'll be different. I'll say I actually really like this Tennessee-Houston game, but I'll actually say Michigan State.
You're a fucking sicko, Mike. That's why. Because you're a sicko.
I'll say Michigan State, Auburn. I'll say Michigan State, Auburn, because I want to see if Auburn can stay composed against a team in Michigan State that'll try to make you not composed. That's the storyline there.
I agree with that. And you know that they're going to try to come out aggressively. And what'd you say? Will we see a complete game from Auburn? Or will we see it from Michigan State? Here's what we do know. Whoever comes out on top and makes the San Antonio, it's going to be a party. That does it for us on After Dark. The afters are next. What a night.
I have been looking for the best deal on March Madness tickets, which is why I want to give the sponsor of today's show, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app with over 28 million downloads and more than 70,000 events available. Now that March Madness is here, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated so you know if it's a good deal with that little green dot, and it's backed by a buyer guarantee. You can get 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek with code FIELD-of-68. That's code FIELD-of-68.
I want my home to feel like my
home. So whether I'm looking for big furniture, just a small piece for my place, or maybe some storage solutions for the basement or the garage, the answer is Wayfair. Seriously, I needed a new patio set and fire pit for my backyard. I bought it on Wayfair. It looks great on our deck, and it gives me an excuse to fire up the smoker, invite some friends over, crack a couple beers. Just last week, I bought a new chair for my office, someplace comfortable to sit while the madness takes up the 4 screens in front of me. I got it on Wayfair, clicked a few buttons. A couple days later, it showed up at my front door. They even offered to help set it up for you. Digging through online stores can be intimidating. Trust me, I know. It can be hard to find what you're looking for in your price range, but not on Wayfair. They have great options, even if you are balling on a budget like me. Wayfair has every style for every home, including mine and yours. So head to wayfair.com and shop everything home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
We're live. It's the afters. Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28. It's the afters here on the field of 68. Rob, Mike, and Jeff. Jeff with an outstanding satellite setup there in Atlanta. Very nicely done.
Somebody appreciates me. Somebody, Fana, appreciates my technological expertise. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome there in Atlanta, where you started the year right at the Champions Classic, and now you're there for what will be a regional final between Auburn and Michigan State. We're not going to go long. We're going to go through what I think we consider to be as amazing of an Elite Eight slate that we've had since this network started. It's tied for the fewest combined total of seeds ever. I mean, this is going to be absolutely ridiculous throughout the next 2 nights. So let's get right to it. The very first region final will be in the West. Florida and Texas Tech later tonight. Cannot wait for this matchup, Rob. 6:09 Eastern time. So, Rob, when you think about this game and you think about Texas Tech and what it took for them to get past Arkansas, the question is, can the Red Raiders overthrow the Gators, or is this Todd Golden's golden moment?
I like that, Todd Golden's golden moment. I think that Florida ends up winning this game. I don't know if Chance McMillan is going to play. I feel like if he hasn't played the last 2 games or hasn't at least gone through warmups or whatever, it just seems like that's relatively unlikely. Without him, they are limited in terms of their shooting ability. The way this team is built is to have a point guard that gets into the lane with a bunch of 3-point shooters around a rim runner, and without that, their best shooter, it just kind of limits what they want to do. I thought Elijah Hawkins looked really, really small against Arkansas's length and athleticism, and Florida doesn't have the same amount, but they got enough. I think that Florida ends up winning this game.
Mike?
Yeah, I'm with Rob on that. I think the Chance McMillan, if he's in the lineup, that at least gives you a chance against this Florida defense to be able to make shots off the bounce and off movement. It's just, I think there's a chance that the offense is a little too hard to come by for Texas Tech. And obviously the health of Alex Condon is a factor too. Him tweaking that ankle again, I think, is something to monitor when you think about that matchup with JT Toppin, and can he try to own that matchup with that pretty stout Florida revolving door in the front court. So that's what I'm looking at. And if I thought Florida kind of hit their stride a little bit in that second half against Maryland, and was able to put that game away what felt kind of easily. So can you carry that momentum into the next round? They're figuring some things out after those first 2 rounds, and I'm sure they hope to be playing their best basketball as they potentially punch their ticket for a Final Four. So Florida.
Oh, God.
Dosters,
I never wanted to see that again.
I
never wanted to see that again.
Every time they win, you are going to see the Gator chomp. And if it's in Final Four, you're going to see it in your face again, just like you saw it in Vegas.
I like Florida. I like the Gators. I like Todd. Jonathan Safar, one of their assistant coaches, went to Vassar. I like Florida.
You're not going to like them. You're not going to like him much longer if they keep winning, because I'm going to be chomping
like
you right in your grill. Right in your grill.
Okay.
No, Florida. Florida's winning this one. Florida's going to win this one, Fana, and they're going to win this one fairly easily. I really do believe that.
I disagree with that, but that's why we have the debate. Let me make the case for Texas Tech, right? They average 10 threes per game. So it's not like they're going to get overwhelmed by Florida's balance. Now, I really wish that they had a healthy McMillan. That makes a big difference in this.
Huge.
It obviously does. Huge. You need JT Toppin to be an all-American first-team type of guy in this game, which on his best day, he is the epitome of a matchup nightmare, and he's got to get cooking early. Darian Williams can't go 2 for 12 and a half again. He could against Arkansas, and then once Texas Tech found a defensive formula against Arkansas, and Arkansas missed some shots, then Texas Tech capitalized. We saw youth break down there late. The McCaslin v. Golden coaching matchup is really interesting. Let's face it with Golden. He got outcoached by Dan Hurley. He did. And against Kevin Willard, distraction was the name of the game in that game. McCaslin's got his group believing, but they're going to have to limit Florida's offense. And if you're going to limit Florida's offense, how do you do it? How do you do it for 40 minutes? I think that's where it's just too much. And Florida's ability to get offensive rebounds, that spells problem in this game. So I'm with you guys. I'll go with the Gators as well. I do think Texas Tech is tough and hard-nosed. One thing that's not getting brought up, it's 2 of the top 5 offenses in KenPom squaring off. Mm-hmm. So it should be a lot of fun. Jeff, let's start with you. Duke, Alabama. What's going on in this game? Will Cooper Flag fulfill destiny, or will Bama prove spoiler and go back to the Final Four?
Yeah, I'm worried that Bama doesn't have – I mean, we know they're not going to have another shooting night like that. Nobody will, again, for a long, long time. But, you just worry if again, Duke's defense is not exactly like BYU's defense. Cooper Flag is an elite defender. Kaman Maluach is very, very tough to score on at the rim and in the post. So I like Duke here, but I think this is going to be – this has the potential, guys, of being the best game of the entire tournament. And I can't wait to see Mark Sears, how he attacks that Duke defense, because I think he can get in the seams, and I think he can get his teammates open shots. Will they make them? That's my biggest question.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. It's going to be one of the best Elite Eight games. I know we have 4, so it's definitely going to be one of the best. But yeah, I mean, Duke's defensive coverage is going to be different than BYU's. BYU went under on a ton of Alabama's actions, and then when they blitzed Mark Sears could identify the rotations and find guys for threes. Pace is so important in this game, because what happens when you have pace and really, really high tempo, which I think this game can turn into, you have runs. And so it's going to be the ability for either of these teams to stop the other teams. Like, can you prevent, can you make what would be a 15-0 run only a 9-0 run? I mean, that's like, you can't have the game get blown open. I'm looking particularly at Alabama. I think you can't let this game get blown open by Duke. That's going to be really key. But I think Nate Oates was pretty happy. I know it was 88 points or whatever it ended up being for BYU, but with the possessions and the points per possession, I think he was happy with the defense, because he ran them off the line. He made them, have to finish inside the arc. And I think that's kind of what you have to do with Duke as well. I mean, you can't let Duke go out there and hit 12 or 13 threes, because they're so good at everything else. So that's the story for me. How do these teams contain the runs when the pace is going to be what it is in this game? That's the key. But I'm sticking with my national champion pick. I'm going Duke.
Duke shoots as many threes per possession as BYU did, and they shoot a better percentage from 3 than BYU did. And to me, that's there's 2 things that are going to be the key. One is Alabama going to be able to run Duke off the 3-point line the way that they were able to run BYU off the 3-point line. I don't think it's going to be as easy against this Duke team. And the other part of it is Mark Sears is 6'1". Aiden Holloway's 6'1". Look at Duke's starting lineup. Zion James is 6'6" and is like built like a linebacker. And if he's not guarding him, it's Tyrese Proctor, who's 6'6" with length. And if it's not him, it's Con Knipple, who's 6'6" and strong. If it's not him, it's 6'9" Cooper Flagg. And if they want to, they could throw 6'9" Malik Brown in there and just switch everything 1 through 5 and not have to worry about blitz and ball screens or going under or anything, right? Like, how will Alabama's smaller guards deal with the length and athleticism of Duke? I absolutely think Alabama can win this game. And I know that this will probably get shown to the guys on the Alabama roster, Fanta. But I'm sorry, I got to stick with the pick that I made in the preseason or in the before the tournament started. I think Duke wins. I think Duke wins the national championship. I think that this tournament is a coronation of the Blue Devils at this point.
You're welcome, Coach Oates.
Yeah,
Yes,
there it is.
you're welcome.
I mean, here's the
You're welcome,
thing.
mate.
They could just shut you down offensively for 4 or 5 minutes. And, Mike, you just summed it up where if you're going through that drought, then Cooper and company are going to cash in. And a 10-0, 12-0 run against that team could be insurmountable. I mean, that's what you're staring at in these games. So you almost have to anticipate the run, right? Like you almost have to see, okay, I'm seeing something coming here. I'm going to call a quick TO. I actually think, here's the thing. If I were Alabama, I'd be fine getting into a 3-point shootout. Rob, I know you're thinking like, let's run them off the 3-point line. I'll pick my poison, man. I mean, at some point, I have to. I don't have the length to stay with Duke on the drive. Right now, when Cooper Flagg puts the ball on the floor to drive to the rim, I'm petrified if I'm the defense. Petrified. There's no answer to what he's doing dribble penetration-wise. Coach Oates, maybe we'll owe you an apology, but all 4 of us are on the Duke Blue Devils. Game number 3 in our regional finals. Mike, you're going to start. Then Jeff, then Rob. Mike, here we go. Tennessee, Houston.
I'm going with Tennessee in this game, but I will say I don't think we talked enough about Houston today because there's something to be said. I think sometimes we look at results and we see 62-60 or we see a close game and we think, it's not exactly what we want it to be. We want these 1 seeds running teams off the floor. Houston wins close games. You want to know why they win close games? Because when it comes down to getting a stop, there's no better team in the country to do it. When it comes down to drawing something up at the end of the game like we saw tonight, Kelvin Sampson is one of the best coaches in the country at doing it. That's why they win close games, and they got tough shot makers. So I just wanted to mention that with Houston. I feel like we haven't talked about them enough tonight. So I think this could be a close game, but I think Tennessee, like we alluded to earlier in the show, there's just so many weapons, and if you're going to put 2 on the ball, how do they shoot from the outside? How do they fare on the glass when Houston's in rotation? I had Tennessee in my bracket moving to the Final Four, and I'm going to keep it that way. So I'm going Tennessee.
I had Houston going to the Final Four in my bracket, and Jeff, I'm changing my pick.
No.
Good old Rocky Top. Woo! Rocky Top, Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to get this done.
Don't ever sing that again either.
Don't
change your pick. Don't sing.
No, I just did. I think that we saw the blueprint for how to be able to attack Houston's the way that they defend ball screens, and I think that Zakai Ziegler is capable of stringing it out the way that Braden Smith did. The thing that I loved, like this, just a tangent, but the thing that I loved that Braden Smith did was he would string out the ball screen and then we'd reset it the other way. So then all of a sudden the big guy is kind of stuck in no man's land and Braden Smith is coming the other way off of a ball screen. So all of a sudden you're kind of playing 5-on-4. I love that little tweak that Matt Painter threw in there. But yeah, I think Tennessee gets this one.
Can you stay on point, please? We're trying to do
No,
previews.
I can't. Zakai Ziegler, Tennessee, they get this done. Rick Barnes is back in the Final Four on what would that be? Sunday evening.
Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this is a Tennessee team that since February they've beaten Florida, they've beaten Alabama, they've beaten Auburn. They've proven they can beat absolutely anybody. And frankly, Houston in the Big 12, I know they tore the Big 12 up, but the Big 12 just wasn't that good looking back at it this year. So I think Tennessee wins this game. I just think they've got too many weapons. I think they fit together. They just have to match Houston's toughness, which is easier said than done.
Well, Houston's got to match their toughness too, and that's the kind of game this is going to be. Now, in my original bracket,
do it, Fanta.
I don't know where the thing went. I picked Houston to come out of this region, and I am not backing down tonight. So I am taking the Cougars. I'm going to be a man of my word.
Yes,
I think
we need some.
You're a man. You're a man.
Yes.
Unlike Dawson.
LJ Cryer will be crying tears of joy because he's going to respond from an embarrassing performance tonight. He was flat out bad tonight. Think about this. Like, that guy tonight goes 2 for 13. But, Mike, you saw it. He hit one of the biggest shots of the game to put him up 5 and put him in position to win the game. You don't think he's going to bed tonight pissed off at himself and his life and everything, thinking, I almost just cost my team this season?
His life?
Oh, yeah.
Life
He's
or
not
what?
pissed off at his life. Come on,
yeah,
man. He's got a great life.
No. Those Houston kids take it personally. They do. It's a different. These two teams, whoever loses this game because of how hard they play, they're not going to be consolable after the game because that's the type of basketball these two teams play. This is going to you
better have football pads on. You better have football pads on.
No, I mean this is this is not. If you come into this soft, you're not allowed at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Hey, here's my bold take for this game.
Houston finds a way to win this game.
Here's my bold take for this game is that after watching this game, we are going to have freedom of movement rules put into college basketball in the 25-26 season. That's my bold take.
Hard game to
stay on point.
Almost impossible game to officiate. I just think, what did Kelvin bring in? He brought in Milo Shoezon for this moment. He's got Cryer. He's got Sharp. Look, I wouldn't want to get in Ziegler's or Lanier's way. Conventional wisdom says Tennessee, we're going to get a burst of madness from somebody, and I'll take my chances with Houston, who I know could be in a one-possession game in the final minute, and if they run a baseline out of bounds like they did tonight, who knows what could happen. Jeff, Mike, Rob, in that order. Does Izzo have one more magical day?
No. They just don't have enough. Jase Richardson would have to go for 30, I think, for Michigan State to beat Auburn. I really believe that. Now, again, as Mike said earlier, they might be able to frustrate him a little bit, hold them down for a half, but ultimately they're going to go on their run. They have too much. I think Janai could foul out all 3 of Michigan State's bigs, number one. And again, to me, I don't see Baker Mazzara having another game like he did tonight. These guys just kind of can flip it. They have fun. They've just – Denver Jones tonight. Like, they just got dudes. They got guys that step up, that are fearless, that feel like, you know what, at any point they could take over the game, and that's what happened tonight with Denver Jones, Pettiford. It was Janai early. He was playing volleyball out there and just against 2 7-footers. He was playing volleyball, just throwing the ball off the glass and getting it back. So I'm taking Auburn here. Easy.
Michael.
Rob, you said that the freedom of movement rules may be changed after the Tennessee-Houston game. The shit-talking rules might be changed after this Michigan State-Auburn game. I think we're going to have such a high-level amount of shit-talking in this game that I'm so excited for. I was hoping that this matchup happened for that very reason. When you think about the guys in that backcourt, just think about Auburn in general. Like the swag that they play with, they talk, they like talking, they like barking, and so does this Michigan State team.
You can't talk to Trey Holloman. You can't talk to Trey Holloman.
Jeremy
Fears. I can't wait for
all
Trey Holloman and Chad Baker Mazzara. I was going to say that same thing. It is going to be awesome.
Trey, I will set my clock to 2 minutes into the game before Trey Holloman and Chad Baker Mazzara are getting into it. So, look, my gut tells me that Auburn wins this game. My bracket says it's Michigan State. So I'm at a crossroads here. The one thing I will say is if Auburn turns the ball over 15 times like they did tonight against Michigan, that is music to Michigan State's ears getting out in transition. You are going to you need to get shots on rim. And Michigan State's a really, really good rebounding team, one of the best rebounding teams in the country, but so is Auburn. We saw it tonight with Janai and the rest of those guys. So you need to get shots on rim if you're Auburn. You cannot give runouts to this Michigan State team, or else those guys get going. And I talked about those runs in Duke, Alabama. It's the same thing here. I mean, Michigan State can go on runs now. So I don't know. I almost want Rob. I almost want you and Fanta to pick, and then I can make my pick at the end of it.
You got to make your pick. Make your pick already. Let's go. Come on.
All right. I'll for parity's sake, I'll go Michigan State.
I think it's going to be Auburn for a lot of the reasons that that Goodman said, but I think the biggest one is just Michigan State is about rebounding and getting out in transition, right? And I don't think you want to play a transition game against Auburn, and I just don't know if this Michigan State team has the size to be able to rebound the way they need to be able to rebound against Auburn when we just saw them kind of struggle to play their game against Ole Miss. So I think Auburn wins this game.
You guys are overthinking this. Fana, I have one word. Talent. That's why Auburn wins this.
Yeah. Everything about this says Auburn wins the game, which is why I'll even the score and I'll take Michigan State too. I think that this Spartans team, I liken it to 2019 down in Washington, D.C., and everybody in the media and nobody was talking to Michigan State the day before the game. Everybody was talking to Zion Williamson. And then Michigan State came out and grinded them down defensively and hung around in the game by just getting stops, Mike, and getting stops.
Kenny Goins, baby. Kenny Goins game winners. You gotta love Kenny Goins game winners. Runouts.
And, Jeff's like, well, it would take Jase Richardson scoring 30. So why the hell not? Jase Richardson scores 28 points. Jaden Akins has the game of his life. Here's the deal. If we all come out here and pick Auburn, you know how that works in the history of sports. We all end up getting an egg on our face. The fact is, when you get this level of regional finals, why not? Anybody could win these games. That's why, this is where the anti-argument, this is the last thing I'll say tonight, is, Jeff, this is where sometimes a Cinderella gets this far, and then, unfortunately, we get a dud of a regional final. It's just how it goes. But this year, we have 1 versus 2, 1 versus 2, 1 versus 2, and frankly, in the 1 versus 3, it's still an outstanding game with the run that Texas Tech's coming off of win over Arkansas. Fellas, this was fun. We're right back at it tomorrow night when we are handing out 2 Final Four tickets later tonight. There's nothing like it because then you're going to the best show of them all. And those 2 games will be Florida and Texas Tech. Think about it. Todd Golden, yeah, you got my microphone. Todd Golden or Grant McCaslin's going to clinch a Final Four slot later tonight, Jeff. Think about that. Like that, one of those 2 men is going to be heading to the Final Four. And then John Shire's never been to a Final Four as a head coach. And on the other side, Nate Oates, if he pulled that off, the legend of Oates.
Oh. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Write a new
it's going to be a lot of history written tonight. A lot of history for these guys. So much on the line. This is the best. To me, this is kind of the coolest day, these 2 days in college basketball, because, again, the Final Four means obviously the national title. We know what that means. But 4 teams over these 2 days, accomplishing something that is just so monumental within college basketball. I can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
That'll do it. Thanks to Dagan Hughes for staying up day and night and working as hard as he does. Thanks to Trevor Valise. Thanks to our entire crew. Again, folks, we're back with you tomorrow night after Duke and Alabama. For Mike LaTulip, Rob Dalster, Jeff Goodman, this is John Fanta saying so long. Get to our platforms all day tomorrow leading up to the games. We'll help you out with your picks. We'll have these previews posted. We'll be gearing you up for regional finals across America. This has been After Dark.